a typical day of a meditator here, which is settling body, speech, and mind in their natural states, which is a practice specifically described in the Dzogchen tradition of Tibetan Buddhism, in English, the Great Perfection tradition. And in one sense, it seems so obvious, like, well, of course, one has to learn how to be in a proper meditation posture with the back straight and the hands, whether on the lap or on the knees. I can't show you now, even on Skype, but the legs crossed, the head straight, the back of the spine slightly longer than the front, and letting the breath flow naturally. So that's basic meditation instruction, which I think is consistent across many traditions. But the settling of body, speech, and mind in their natural states has an element of release to let, first of all, the body find what is its own perfectly balanced state. And that's not the same for everybody. It's not some kind of forced militaristic, I have to be really straight and tall. Sometimes it might be in the Shavasana position, lying like a corpse. It may be in a chair. It may be seated in a more comfortable cross-legged posture, not the full Vajrasana. But then in terms of the breath, it's a releasing the breath to find its natural rhythm, not exerting any control whatsoever on the rhythm of the breath, which is actually the opposite of pranayama, where one is trying to calibrate the breath towards preconceived rhythms, which has its own purpose. But in the Dzogchen tradition in particular, and Lama Alan Wallace emphasizes this a great deal, it's a releasing the breath to find its own natural rhythm. Sometimes for someone who's starting out in meditation, to release the breath all the way may be the first time they've done that in decades, because there are built up fears, built up tensions, built up stresses, built up, I have to do something next. That means we don't fully exhale, maybe except in sleep. And then likewise, the inhale, that the inhale not be in any way pulling, grasping, trying to get the breath, but receiving the breath. It already can become a mystical experience of receiving the breath as a gift, as a divine gift from the outer world. Wow. And just letting the breath fill one's whole body can be a sacred experience. And then settling the mind in its natural state can begin as within the first few minutes of a meditation, simply letting one's eyes open, actually, not keeping the eyes closed as though my mind is in here somewhere, but letting the awareness flow through the eyes into the space in front of one, and being utterly at rest to find a stillness of awareness that doesn't need to move. And so then the flow of thoughts, and they're not right to left or left to right, they're not forward or back, to allow the space of the mind to become vividly clear. And it's not in the space of in front of one. Keeping the eyes open actually really helps identify the space of the mind as something distinct from any of the other five senses. In Tibetan, it is literally called the sixth sensory faculty, manas, or in Tibetan Yiki Nampa the mental faculty. Well, the mental consciousness, Yiwong would be the mental faculty. Identify that even when the senses are able to pick up data, there is something else going on, which is our awareness of our own thoughts that is not subsumed by any of the other five senses. And so that, as I said, can be a beginning practice in the first 5 minutes before moving on to a meditation that's focused on a visualized object or an analytical object.